In this video, I will give you an overview of the package design project. So the idea is that you have established the identity for your restaurant, created a logo, created a menu, and now it is time to put together a package that makes sense for your restaurant. And we will look at examples and flesh out different ideas that might work for your restaurant. So first thing you got to do is do a little bit more research and find out what would be appropriate for your restaurant. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something that would be sold there. It could be a promotional giveaway for the grand opening of the restaurant, almost anything you can dream of, but I'll give you the more popular ones when we look at examples. You should also research the basics of package design, which includes looking at templates, which is a great starting point. Like if you're just designing a rectangle, by the time you watch the different videos that I'll have for this project, you should have a pretty good idea how to do just a basic rectangular six-sided box. But if you need something a little more unique, then definitely start looking at different design templates online. And by the time you look at a couple, maybe even print out a pattern or two or try it, you'll get an idea how you could edit one and make something that's totally unique that no one has done before. So then you will brainstorm and sketch ideas for your package design, and then of course work on the print elements of the package in Illustrator, and then start experimentally building the physical comps for the package design, and then working gradually to getting one where you have the graphics and everything comes together and looks beautiful. Okay, so the requirements for the menu project, I don't tell you what size the package has to be or what it has to be for. It should just be something that looks at home in your restaurant. Your logo should be printed on the package. That only makes sense because it's something that either promotes your restaurant or is sold at your restaurant. So it's a part of the whole integral identity of the restaurant. Keep in mind that as part of your final project, you will photograph your menu, your package design, and what goes in the package together. So the entire system should look like a system, like everything belongs together. So on that note, one thing that you definitely have to keep in mind for a package design is nothing looks like lamer, I guess, than a package design without the thing that goes in it. Usually if you look at package designs, if you just Google them, graphic designer package designs from their portfolio, you'll see the package probably all together. Then you might see it opened with the item exposed that it contains, and so on. So let's talk about some of the things. So first of all, the effort, the graded, effort on this project. You have to be willing to make several comps. You can't just expect to draw out a sketch and then say, okay, I think my package would go like this, print it and fold it and put it together and think that that's going to work. You just have to keep doing that over and over, making slight adjustments and keeping everything else about design in mind, like good typography and hierarchy and rhythm and all the other things you've learned about. So you are required to create an actual package. So for example, sometimes a student will come up with a great idea for a wine label. That's nice, and it could look really great in the system, but it's not enough for this project because all you did was just make a label. So you could, to go along with that, design a box that would go around the wine bottle, or you could say, no, I'm happy with that wine bottle as is, but to satisfy the project fully, I'm going to move on and I'm going to design another package design. And that might be, some of the more popular choices would be like tea, that is a special blend that the restaurant makes, and it's very easy to buy existing tea, take off their little labels off the little tea bags themselves, make that, make the overall packaging, put the tea bags inside of it, and then you have something that looks very professional. You could do something very similar with just simple spices that you could pretend the restaurant makes specially and make a little package design. I've seen people do chopsticks very effectively. The things that are also fairly easy but require another aspect would be things that's a little bit harder to get something for inside the package. So for example, like shot glasses or regular glasses or mugs have been done, but then you would have to come up with a way to put your logo on the mug so that it looks at home in the photo shoot next to the package. And not that that's overly difficult, because you can get material that you can print on that's clear and run that through a printer if you have access to a desktop printer, and then just peel and stick that on the glass or the mug. Um, To-go boxes generally aren't enough for this project. Like you can't take somebody's existing to-go box and just slap your logo on it and call it a day. And you also have to remember, for high-scale restaurants, upscale restaurants, that a to-go box can often seem a little bit tacky. Whereas in a mid-range restaurant, like, oh, what's the one? Claim Jumper, that I don't know if it's still this bad, but in the old days they used to give you way, way too much food, and it totally made sense to get a to-go package there. But if you're, paying $100 per meal in a restaurant, a to-go box isn't the norm for that type of restaurant. So in general terms, you are required to print, cut, fold, and assemble a package. So if you're doing something within those confines, you should be good, as long as it makes sense for your restaurant. If you have an idea that is outside of the box, pun intended, just make sure you run it by me to make sure you have enough to satisfy the project. Just don't, turn it in and hope for the best. You want to make sure that if you're doing anything less than, what's described here under general terms, then definitely run it by me. The final turn-in for this project, you definitely want to pay attention to the Canvas announcements along the way, and the various turn-ins and process checks. But when it comes time to the actual project turn-in, you will be turning in the actual package or photographs if we're online, and you will also turn in your Illustrator file with everything embedded and the fonts outlined and so on. And then, of course, for your final project, you will do the photo shoot with everything together. But first, quick photo shoot to show that you've assembled the package. And then let's look at some past work from students. So as I mentioned, tea is a popular item, and you can see what this person did. She bought some actual tea and then just put her logo at the end of the string. And then, she went way all out here and made a little wrapper for each individual tea. But if you just did this in the boxes, that would certainly satisfy the requirement. This is another part of her photo shoot where she even, set up a mug in there and everything. So you can see it's a lot to do with how students envision things. Now, this one, what would make this one better is if we could tell what this was for. Her idea was that it was for this mug, but when everything's put together, it's not that obvious. This is a great showing of like what you do for your final project, where you photograph the menu and the package designs together. So she liked the idea for her menu of a system of being able to take things away, but she found these boxes. So she realized that wasn't quite enough. So she made a slip ring for them, which looks really great in the photograph, but then she constructed this box, which is kind of a reflection of the flower that's part of her logo. So everything integrates together beautifully. And I said to-go bags are generally not enough, but this is the same student that you've been hearing me brag about that made that menu that looked like a package. I'm sorry, that looked like a photo album, and she constructed that by hand. She constructed this bag by hand, including, down to installing the carry rope and the red inside liner. I mean, that's what you can do if you really, really put a huge effort in. I can tell you, if this student came in against the student with the average stuff in the portfolio, this is the one that's going to get noticed. So just know what you're up against in the industry. This was a unique take on a to-go item, and she felt that it fit her restaurant. And then this was the dual photo shoot where the menu was included as well. This was one for just a piece of pie to go. That's the other side of it. This is one where the student went online, looked at several different examples of package designs, and then came up with her own unique style for the top of it. While you're on this website, feel free to look under student work and look for anything else that might have to do with package design, because there's more stuff in there as well. And then also under student awards, there's a lot of stuff that's not from the restaurant project, but is very package design oriented. So the more stuff you look at that you see that other students have done in the past, and you realize, hey, I could do that too. This was actually a greeting card that's more of a package design. It has movable little parts in it, just really great craft. This is one that pretty much falls under the package design. Like if you were to do a label that had this much detail, I would probably say, yeah, go for it, because it has a bunch of die cuts. And this is one that this took second place in a national design contest, has a die cut in it so that you look through the bottle and can see through to the back label, and you actually see the baby birds inside of there. So very conceptual. This is, I probably told you this already, one of the best examples of anyone that I've ever seen mock up a production of an emboss. Just the amount of detail that's in there is incredible. She actually made a linoleum cutout to do that, where most of the time when I've ever mocked up embosses, it was just I would cut out like maybe say one simple sans serif letter and use that to emboss. And we've talked about where to look for those special techniques in the videos for the menu. Let's see if there's anything else here. Package related. Yeah, this was a package that someone did for self-promotion, where she put her resume inside of here, and then when assembled, the puzzle pieces actually show her holding. It would be like for self-promotion, so she might show herself holding the logo of the company that she wants to work for. In this case, she was holding the logo for the contest that this was for, and she took second place and received a check for $1,500. This is just kind of a reiteration of the things that I've said, so you may want to pause it and read that. And know that there are entire, like one semester classes devoted to package design. So this is more of a crash course, but you can still, as you've seen from the examples, do amazing things. And to really get unique stuff that's truly unique to your restaurant and maybe has the concept built into it, where it's not only like just, wow, that's nice package design, very competent, but also has that wow factor of, wow, that's really clever. Look at the way you look into that package. It reflects something that's going on in the menu or the overall concept of the restaurant. And if you are going to do something, really interesting, make sure that you just try it out with cheap paper first, with no graphics, maybe just writing on it with a pencil and then unfolding it and then seeing how certain things get turned upside down for print purposes. So you just waste, as least amount of ink and paper as you can. But then you're going to have to go up to a nicer grade of paper. And I already mentioned that Kelly paper is a good resource for that. And just researching paper companies online and asking for samples. And something to keep in mind as you move up the stack of paper, pun intended again, you want to be aware that thicker paper is going to fold differently. So if you had something perfectly aligned print-wise with thin paper and then you go to thicker paper, it might not align, especially if you have a trifold and something has to fit into the middle. So again, it's a lot of experimentation, and if you've already made the package and you come up with something new that you're going to add to it, try that on some scrap paper first, because nothing worse than ruining a great design with something that if you had just spent 15 minutes and practiced it somewhere else. And then I'm going to make a video that shows me, just showing something existing, package design. We'll open it up, see what it looks like, and show you how to reconstruct that, and especially for printing purposes. Just a little bit of a preview here of how things can get crazy with package design, or just might look totally different than you were expecting. You can go to this mechanicals for printing here, and in these videos I dissect an envelope. So what I'm doing is dissecting a yellow envelope that has a white L, but actually it's not a white L, it's a white envelope with yellow ink, and you get to see all the glue and everything.